Hello and welcome to tonight's coverage of the Wesley London Cycling VR race series. Tonight's race is the 3.7 race. It's the 7th race in the 3rd series. Course provided by Dave Morrison and organisation by Dave Morrison. Live stream by ZMS Livestreams. And commentary tonight is by myself, Riley Harvey, and my co-commentator, Mike Lister, who is also racing in this race. Hi, Mike.
Evening, Riley. Thanks for the introduction. Yep, I'll be trying to do my best commentating and riding impression again this evening.
Fantastic. You did a great race last time around. I think commentating and racing at the same time suits you.
Well, yeah, I managed to grab a second on Monday. Wasn't commentating much for the final kilometre. Even the last 5 kilometres, it was quite an interesting race. There was a good split and a bit of a chase for the finish and a very long sprint. So he did a good job of covering for me on the commentary when I was breathing heavy and draped over my handlebars at the finish, hoping for the same this evening.
Yeah, well, hopefully you'll get the win tonight, Mike. Maybe I'll talk for you for the last kilometre and a bit, give you a bit more chance to sprint.
Yeah, let me focus. It's always a challenging, tough race this, big crowd, big sprint finish. So I've got to focus on that timing, launch a sprint at the right time. And a lot of big hitters in this race as well. So yeah, always a good one. Nice and short, punchy. Let's get into it.
Anybody to look out for in tonight's racing?
Well, there's my teammate, Ned Bowen. I think he's currently top of the individual rankings. Nick Greenall and the Ratio boys, they're always strong. Neugebauer, the German rider, he's generally up there. And the Sands guys as well, South Africa, New Zealand. That's OLFC, a couple of other guys. They're usually quite aggressive as well. Right, 10 seconds out, I'm just going to get pedalled up.
This is the 3rd in the season of the races provided by Wesley CC. Dave Morrison puts on a fantastic series. They're always preempted with a real-life ride of the courses. They tend to be courses that Dave's ridden quite frequently around his local area. This one's actually from Leighton Buzzard. It's called Mantmore in 1969. It's an old British road race course. We're underway and Dave's on the front of the pack. Dave Morrison, that is.
Yeah, he did a good job this Dave. We spoke about him on episode 1 of Virtual Cycling News. There's a lot of homework. Does a little race recording as well. He goes out with his camera and films the real world route, so you can get an idea of what it's really like. So yeah, a lot of effort goes in and he's rewarded with good numbers week in, week out.
Yeah, it's definitely a well-attended race series.
So it looks like we've got a little bit of just a gentle 0.5 to 1% drag for the first few kilometres. A tiny little kicker in the middle, and then the second half which drags up to about 2 kilometres from the line, and it's slightly downhill, so it will be a fast finish.
Yeah, looking at the race profile that I've got in front of me here, about 9 miles out you summit a small climb. There's not much climbing in this at all. There's only 344 feet, around about 120 metres. So yeah, we're about 9 miles out from the start, which is roughly about 14 kilometres. Will be the crest of the only really substantial climb. So I think that's where it will all kick off in this race.
Yeah, I think it's about 3% for about 600 metres. So that's the only real opportunity to put a bit of pressure down. Might be just far enough away from the finish that you get a little bit of recovery. Of course, it's the England-Denmark European Championship semi-final tonight as well, so I'm sure people will be riding fast, but they can get finished and then jump in front of the TV in 25 minutes time to catch the football.
Yeah, there'll be lots of people pushing the pace in order to get finished on time for that.
I'm trying to have a little look, see if I can spot any Danish riders. I know Fleming back follows a Proudly, I think, Danish rider. So yeah, we'll keep an eye out for them. Oh, there we go, Proudballer on the front.
Falcon.
Not sure it's going to be one for the Danes in this race though. Numbers are against him.
Just looking
a long
at
way out.
Henry Knox from the South African New Zealand team was on the front a second ago. It's not done too well in the last two outings on the the last outing of the Westerly VR race. He finished in 36th. But he has been doing quite well in some of the other races he's attended.
Let's give a little shout out as well to Kate Kretzinger, who's watching on the Facebook stream. She completed the amazing 4,000 miles Trans-America bike race virtually just a few weeks ago. So evening, Kate. Hope you're doing well. Hope the recovery's going well. Thanks for tuning in. Amazing effort from Kate. Right, we've got another little attack here. One of the Razio boys on the front, just driving the pace. You can tell them from their black kits and orange helmets. They've normally got 3 or 4 guys in this race. They're currently top of the team leading or team competition. Maximum of 4 riders per team. Top 2 riders' results each week go towards that leaderboard.
Looks like it's a good bunch at the moment there, Mike.
Yeah, it's a good bunch. 30 plus riders here at the moment.
Samet's a strong rider. So second in the OTR Vatican series.
Getting stretched out a bit here.
They've seen you off the back, Mike. They're pushing to drop you.
Yeah. I just had to put in a bit of effort to get back in there. Did get a bit strung out on that small little descent.
There's some gold ranked riders in
back there as well.
Some gold ranked riders in this event. We've got Wouter Claes here, who are just focusing on there. He's quite often on the podium. Races in the ECKD Crit Race Series. Several firsts, looking back through his profile. And Notes is just up the road there with Olaf's. The pair of them are on the same team, putting in an effort here, trying to open it up. 505 watts there from Andre Notes. The South African New Zealand team working together there. The pair trying to make it stick. The riders are bridging up to them. They've not got the power to keep it going all the way to the finish. It is just disrupting the race a little bit for everybody else, so. Samet throwing off in the front there and McAlpine chasing him. You just saw McAlpine there using the look back option to see how much of a gap he had on the pack. It's nice to see the animation of the characters. It actually gives you an idea of what they're looking and maybe a bit of an insight into what their thoughts are. Today's course is being played out in the European Spring skin. So you can see there's quite a few cobbles on the road. There's also puddles laying about, and every now and again you get rain, so it does make you feel at home if you're a UK rider. 10 kilometres left of this race to play out. It's flying by.
Yep, everyone's keen. Get to that finish, get in front of the telly. Ooh. Does feel quite aggressive, this race. People aren't hanging around.
Daniel Newsbro there. He's just won recently in the OTR Veteran Series. Came 22nd in the last of the West London races, the 3.6. But he's been featuring fairly heavily in the OTR Veteran Series and doing quite well in those. Was a first in the 2.0 Giro Stage 9 warm-up.
Yeah, I think John Samu, who you mentioned earlier, was last night's winner of that OTR Veterans race.
I think he came second to the rider we were just looking at then. He's got second. He was fourth in the Racio pop-up race on Monday.
Yeah, I think he was technically second yesterday, but Mathieu Drujon, who won the OTR race, is actually only 38 apparently, so it's for over 40s. So he got a technical disqualification.
Another gentleman who's not quite au fait with riding race descriptions.
Yeah, close, but not quite close enough. I've got a few years yet.
I'm sure you'd be able to squeeze in, Mike. You look old enough.
How polite of you.
That's the halfway marker just coming through.
Yeah, Mathieu Drujon, he's a former professional cyclist. He rode for the team that is now known as Movistar. Had a couple of seasons with that team before they rebranded. And he's also a former Swift French national champion as well, so he's definitely got pedigree. One to watch out for on RGT races. He can definitely do some damage.
The Sands boys are interested in lighting this race up, and the Notes has gone off the front again there. He's been quickly reeled in by the Razio Racing boys.
Yeah, I'm just behind.
He was pushing out a healthy 600 watts plus there when he broke free at the front. Trying to keep my eyes open to see if Jim McAlpine is still... Jim Melville is still in this race. Still in his front group.
Yeah, it looks like there's two GCN kits. That's usually the two Scottish guys.
Yeah, James Melville is there in 20th position. Well, position's rapidly changing in a pack as tight bunched as this.
Looks like we're down to 31 riders at the moment in this bunch. That's 2/3 of the starters.
You see there the wattage Matthew Feely's putting out there, around about 280 watts. And when you look at the way that the Sands riders earlier on, Notes was pushing off the front, he was giving it 550 watts. It gives you an idea of the watt saving that you get just sitting and drifting around in that pack. And you don't have to have sharp elbows like you do in the Peloton. The software chooses a nice line for you.
I say 280 watts is still a healthy output just to sit in the Peloton.
A little bit easier to achieve than 550 though.
Well, yes, that is true. But being a 20-minute or so effort, it's easy to put out a little bit above threshold. FTP based on an hour or so. So it does mean you can go a bit deeper than you'd normally would on a longer race.
Just dropping back a little bit here to 34th position and onwards. Small group formed on the road here. Dave Morrison's in that group. Guys that have probably just been kicked off the back, lost the draft. Very quickly, when you lose that draft, you do go backwards. Small gruppetto forming, bringing the race home. Again, they're still putting out some healthy watts.
Really nice to see all of the riders get some coverage, not just the front of the race.
Back up to the front where the action's happening, really. I see Contant there is in the front group.
We just hit the start of this drag now, 1% for the next few kilometres. Before a couple of 2-3%. 600 metres and then downhill to the line.
And spotted Mark Rowbottom in this group as well from the Ratio Racing. He's been taking part in the Night Rider Coast to Coast.
So just putting in there, we got Ben Phillips as well, so that's 3 Ratio riders.
Yeah, Rowbottom's won first in the K McFly's pre-work ride recently. He's been taking part in the Night Rider Coast to Coast rides, which are quite a long ride. 12th in the last of the West London VR races. There was a DNF in the 3.5. Regular at these races and quite good results in all of them. First in the 3.3 race.
Yeah, he's been right up there throughout, and it's small margins. We say 15th or 20th place, but that's often could be only half a second. That's how tight these bunch sprints are.
Onto the cobble section now. Fortunately, it's no cobble effect. And Felbal is pushing at the front. Rasmus Felbal, he races in the classic Jeudi races, and he's also been taking part in some of the TNT Omnium events. Been finishing quite a few firsts in those events, so he's definitely a dangerous rider for a sprinter, I'd say, with those TNT results backing that up. Not much elevation at all in this race. In total, we're at 39 metres climbed. It's almost all on this slow drag up. We've got some efforts going in here. I think that's one of the... There's Mike on the front, pushing forward, pushing the tempo. And looking at the stats there, I've got 390 watts up in it there, 440 for a moment. Heart rate's at 185. I think Mike goes to around about 195 on the heart rate. We'll see if he can max that out before the end of the race. Still a fairly tight competitive group. Nobody managing to actually break the elastic and escape at the front of the race. Oh, Van Beers is there as well. Virtually all the racers in this race are regular riders. You can see them frequently in the events, virtually every night. Jurgen Van Beers, I think that brings the Ratio Racing tally up to 4 races in this. But Krajowski, Greenhalgh, Van Beers. I think I've seen another rider there.
Right, Bottom and Phillips.
Oh, so the 5. We can't all be in the same team then. And Melville's managed to make it off the front, James Melville there. Whenever those bars underneath the rider's name go red, that's based upon their effort that they're putting in. Red is max effort compared to your FTP. There's also another value above that, which is a bright red value. Generally, the red levels are not sustainable. Only 1.7 kilometres left to go in this race now, and it's hotting up. There's been a little bit of a selection in the group there. This is where you'll start to see elastics snapping and some of the riders just falling off the back, unable to close the gaps whenever they open up slightly. Ned Bowen, Mike's teammate there in the wheels. He's using that draft very well. Descending now, only 1 kilometre left to go. There's the Flamme Rouge. So I expect to see the riders toying with each other a little bit here, trying to drop back towards the back of the group and waiting for someone to make the sprint, jumping on their draft and riding through and over them. Ned's putting an effort there. Rowbottom from the Ratio Racing's on the front. Got Class closing him down. Ackenbach putting in the effort. Feldbau's gone early. Will he be able to hold it? There's only 330 metres left. Sealer up and onto his wheel. He's going to time this well. Use that run through. Notes has gone. South African, New Zealand. Too early. Unsworth line at the front. Sealer. Sealer's just took it. Sealer just took it with a well-timed draft. Nieuwspoor, who we'd spoken about at the beginning of the race. Good ride. Didn't quite make it.
First place for me, that's a little bit disappointing.
Ned Bowen came in 4th though, so you've got a good team place in there.
Yeah, we were pretty close. Maybe gained 1 point on the Ratio boys.
Carla Sealer coming through in the 1st place there in a time of 21 minutes and 33. And Daniel Nieuwspoor from Pedalers, 21 minutes 33 as well. Only 0.015 gap between first and second, and it was only 0.1 of a second back to third. In fact, the first 20 riders were all within 1 second of the finish. Some really good riding there at the end, some really hard riding to finish in that sort of time. Mike came in on 12th. Rowbottom just snuck into 11th for you in the rest of your racing. Overall, some excellent racing. This stream's been brought to you by ZS Livestream. This stream's been brought to you by ZMS Livestream. It's available on Facebook Live and on YouTube. It's also been pushed to estv.co, which is an electronic sports TV network. And the race was prepared by Dave Morrison and promoted by Dave Morrison of Westerly CC. So do you feel like you could have improved on that placing, Mike?
I just feel like, my placings in the sprints just not quite there with my timings. But, I just got slightly swamped at the wrong minute, and it was too much to try and get back. So it's all about timing, and just didn't quite have it this evening. But good power, which is disappointing. Well, it's good, but it feels a bit wasted when you don't get in the top 10 and you're putting out a max of 1100 watts. So I need to work on putting those down at the right time to get me across the line in that and onto that podium. We're only halfway through the series. There's 13 races, so still plenty of opportunities to get a good load of points and move myself up the table.
Talking about the powers there and looking at the table, Kevin Unsworth has had a fairly good ride on that one. He's only pushed out an average of 2.8 watts per kilogram. Managed to bang himself a third.
Yeah, that is impressive. And Ned Bowen as well, that's super efficient, 3.29. So he's just cruising the wheels and then timing it to perfection.
Much like real life, you have to find the right wheel and surf that wheel on the sprint.
So Melville there in 8th place, he tried to put in a bit of action over that climb. Did shrink that pack down a little bit, so it was a good move. But maybe just cost him a little bit in that final sprint. But as we mentioned in the stream, quarter of a second there separating the top 10. You could easily finish 20th and be within a second of the winner, but you look at the pure results, it doesn't look that great. So it really shows how close this series is. I'm looking forward to the next one, in 2 weeks' time, on the 21st of July.
Look forward to covering it.
I think you're going to be racing in it, aren't you, Riley?
Actually, yeah. I think I agreed to do that, didn't I?
Hopefully you learnt a few tactics this evening. You see what you're in for. So you're going to be an honorary transatlantic raider for 1 week. Do us proud.
Yeah, so that's my 2-week crash diet starting today then.
You're going to be starving then.
Yeah, I probably won't be able to turn the pedals, will be that weak. It's nice to see your shout from the beginning of the stream there with the South African New Zealand riders, Johan Olafs and Andre Notes, who are both finished in 6th and 7th there. They obviously were a couple of riders to watch. They were trying to light the race up, quite often making breaks off the front there, keeping it interesting.
Yeah, they are ones to watch, and they've got their cards marked now. We know not to let them go. But it's certainly good to see them trying a few moves. Same with Malvo as well, even on these shorter races. Trying to light it up, create some action, keep people on their toes, and sometimes people do get dropped, so it's always worth having a gamble. And you've still got time to recover for the end. Right, talking of which, I'm going to go recover, get myself a protein shake, grab some food and sit down in front of the football. Come on, England! I'll leave you to wrap up Friday and I'll catch you all again next time.
Great racing, Mike. As I mentioned earlier on, this racing is available on estv.co. It's really worth checking out, Electronic Sports TV network. And we'll be back with you soon for some more live racing.